Welcome to the Dream Hub podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of dreams, uncover the mysteries of the subconscious mind, and dive into the latest in dream research and techniques. I'm your host, Melissa Johnson, and today we have a very special guest with us. Our guest today is Eric Spirko, a distinguished guest in the field of dream studies and a passionate advocate for the power of dreams in personal transformation and sports performance. He's not only a seasoned dream practitioner, but also a former One Division athlete, bringing a unique perspective on the intersection of physical and mental performance. He has dedicated his career to helping people unlock the potential of their dreams to foster creativity, solve problems, and promote mental and emotional well-being. Thanks for coming on the show, Eric. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. It's great to be here.
The first thing that people are probably curious about is what sort of sport were you in?
I played 3 sports in high school. Growing up, I played hockey and football, soccer in the US, and I played lacrosse. And then in university, I focused exclusively on lacrosse, where I was a goalie at Lehigh, which is a Division I program in Pennsylvania.
That's so cool. So did you used to dream about sports a lot?
I still dream about sports all the time.
That's so cool. Could you share with us how you first became interested in lucid dreaming and its potential benefits for athletes?
Yeah, so I always had a rich dream life, and my parents gave me a dream dictionary for Christmas one year when I was young. And from there, it just kind of grew and grew my interest in dreams. I remember in high school, in first period, every morning, I would sit down with 4 of my friends and we would talk about our dreams. And it was a really cool experience and a window into this bizarre world of dreams. And it kind of connected people, 4 of us from fairly different social groups. And so it was also like a bit of a bonding experience and a way to connect with people who I wouldn't normally. And then in college, I had my first lucid dream and it blew my mind. Like, I didn't even know that you could do this. I woke up and I was like, wait, can I be aware of the dream? Can I direct my action in the dream? It felt like some sort of cheat code or something. And so I had to look it up and I learned what a lucid dream was. And I bought my first of many books on lucid dreaming. It was Stephen LaBerge's Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming. And in that book, there's a chapter on sports, on lucid dreaming for sports performance and skill enhancement. And my ears really perked up. I was like, wow, there's a lot of potential here for this. And it talks about Paul Tollet's research, and he was a great dream researcher and a pioneer in this field. And although I played sports at a very high level and I was committed and it required a lot of dedication personally, I was kind of undisciplined and didn't really have my shit together as a human being. And so didn't really find its potential until I was an adult and settled down and was able to really make this and understand the potential of lucid dreaming and make it a part of my regular, consistent practice.
Wow. I wish I knew about dreams when I was in high school. That's really cool. What was your first lucid dream like?
I just remember it being very vivid. I was driving a motorcycle. I don't ride a motorcycle, but I had a motorcycle in this dream, and I was going down this tropical highway, and the sides of the highway were lined by these, like, I don't know, 100-foot tall flamingos, big bright pink flamingos, and it was just this really trippy, cool scene. And then I just kind of drifted off of the motorcycle and flew into the air, landed on the beach, and had some interactions with people on the beach. And I just remember, I more remember the feeling of just waking up and just like such surprise that this is even a thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, cheat code. I know that when you said that, I'm like, it does. I felt the same when I had my first lucid dream. I was like, why doesn't everyone know about this? If we can do this, everyone should be talking about it. I didn't understand why it seems to be such an underground topic. Like, not many people are aware.
Yeah, especially then too. This was years ago, and I was, there wasn't even really much of an awareness of the importance of dreams or sleep rather at the time. And so, in many ways, I'm teaching this because these are tools that I've seen have worked for me in my personal life, in my professional life, in my recreational sports life. But they're also things that I wish that I had when I was younger, when I could have used them at when I was a competitive athlete.
Definitely. So if you had a young athlete here in front of you, what would you want to say to them to make them aware of their abilities and how they could use this to enhance their performance?
So I think with athletes that I've worked with, sleep kind of gets a bad rap. It's seen as this obligation, something that we have to do. We know it's important and is going to aid us in recovery and being optimizing our performance, but it's not something that we look forward to doing or something that we want to do. Where, like, for me, and I think I could probably speak for you too, like, I look forward to going to sleep. I think it's fun. It's this dynamic. It's not just an on or off switch. It's this, you go through various different stages and each stage has this distinct experience to it. And if you bring some awareness and mindfulness into it, you can explore these different states of mind and you can learn more about yourself. You can leverage the innate creativity and problem solving and support your mental health and emotional well-being. So there's all this potential. So even if you're an athlete who's like, yeah, I sleep great, I don't need to do anything, I get my 8 to 10 hours, I sleep fine, no problems falling asleep or staying asleep, there's like a next level that you could take it to that I think a lot of people are not really aware of.
I love that you're advocating for this because I feel the same way about going to sleep. There's a third of our life, and you can choose to ignore it and just have blackness and close your eyes and wake up, or you can choose to like light up that part of your life and really use it to your advantage. And I know, so I used to be a professional athlete as well. I was a WBFF pro. It's a World Bikini Bodybuilding Federation. It's like all glitz and glam. It's beautiful, but it's really hard work, and there's a lot that goes into it, especially with being able to pose on stage. So you can't just walk out there and be like, look at my muscles, don't I look great? You actually have to be able to like flex and pose and twirl and do all this stuff in high heels, in a bikini, in front of everyone, and not fall on your face. So of course I would dream about that a lot, and I was able to use my dreams to remind me when I needed more practice, because I'd dream of everything going wrong and I'd forget my moves, and so then that would motivate me the next day. But also when I did have my posing down pat, it would then give me new ideas. So I'd be dreaming I was on stage going through my routine, and then all of a sudden I'd do this like pose or something that I've not done before, and I'd wake up with all these new ideas. And that was really cool when I began coaching it, because each of my clients would have different routines that the judges have never seen these poses before, because I made them up in my dreams. So I thought that that was actually really practical and really helpful for what I was doing. I'd love to hear about a dream that you've had that helped you with your sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to also just touch on something that you mentioned, because I think it's really
Yeah.
important to say is that it's not all about like these dreams being great dreams where we perform perfectly and everything goes as according to plan and you wake up feeling great. No, the first example that you gave was a situation where maybe it wasn't a great feeling when you woke up. You stumbled or you didn't have a great performance, but there was a lesson to be taken from that dream. So even our anxiety dreams, even nightmares have something to teach us. So I think that's really important, because people might be afraid to jump into this because they know that it's not necessarily all rainbows and butterflies. There's a lot of scary things, monsters, and general anxiety that you might run into when you work with this.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like, just because I had the dream and it didn't go the way I wanted it to or I'd hoped for it to, didn't mean that it was a pointless dream or that I shouldn't have had it. Like, I was actually really grateful for that bad dream, because it helped me to get that extra push towards doing what I actually had to do. Whereas I suppose if I didn't remember that dream, I still would have been unprepared, but I wouldn't have had that extra motivation to go and do something about it. So yeah, bad dreams
Absolutely.
are also good dreams, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for me, dreams, my current dream practice, although I teach it to athletes, it's been a long time since I've been a really like focused competitive athlete. And so when I become lucid in a dream, my primary goals typically aren't working in the sports domain. So I don't have a lot of recent examples of of becoming lucid and using it as a tool for sports performance, with one exception that I was working with a football player who's going through the NFL Combine, which is a big series of tests that college athletes, when they transition from the college world into the professional world, they have to do these physical tests so that the teams can evaluate them and see their potential for drafting them onto their team. And one of the tests is this like shuffle where you have to, you start facing this way, you shuffle from one side a few feet to the right and then a few feet to the left. And just to give this student of mine and this friend of mine a little bit of inspiration that this is possible, I became lucid, and that was my goal. I dropped down and I did this. I completed this T-test on the dream ground, and I woke up. I was like, okay, yeah, this is it's because there's limitations with this, right? You have to kind of work with the environment that you're in, and so I wanted to pick a task that was I could do it anywhere. Really, where if I'm trying to play a full game of football on a pitch, we got to create the and we can probably get into this more, but like there's the more complex the sport gets, the little bit more challenging it becomes to really kind of create this whole environment in your dreaming mind from scratch.
So when you're doing this with people, do you like to go into like a wake induced lucid dream where you are sort of creating the environment within your own imagination first and then try to sort of place yourself into the dream?
More for me, it's been more about recognizing, becoming lucid when I'm already in a sports environment. So I used to have a lot of dreams about forgetting a piece of equipment or showing up in one of like the lacrosse, like your stick is everything, and if it's not throwing correctly, like you're kind of effed. And so basically, like I would have a lot of dreams about my stick not working, and so I became able to use that as a trigger to become lucid. So there, once I have, because this is something that rarely happens in the waking state. Yeah. It's a clear dream sign for me. And so now when I have that happen in a dream, I'm there, I'm on the lacrosse field, I have all my equipment in place. I don't need to do anything else other than just kind of explore the environment that I'm in. And so that's kind of the approach, as opposed to, becoming lucid and then trying to force something onto the dream, change the dream scene in some way, or manifest some dream scene. There are other things that we could do. You could work with dream incubation and try to dream about a particular sport and things like that too. So it's a little bit of kind of understanding where the student is at and trying a few things out and seeing what resonates with them, because there's so many techniques and so many ways that you could potentially induce a lucid dream that it's ultimately sometimes kind of personal.
Yeah, definitely. I can see how what you're saying with sports, it would actually work really well. Like say you're on a sports field and you're at practice, you're just saying like each time you are in that environment, you do your reality checks. Like, what if I became lucid right now? What would I do? Am I in a dream? And be checking that when you're in that environment every time. So then when you are in the dream in that environment, your mind will go, oh, am I in a dream? And start checking.
Yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
Cool.
One of my personal big reality checks is reading a piece of text, looking away and looking back and seeing if the text changes, then I know I'm in a dream. I'll write something on a piece of equipment, and so that I have something right there that I can do a quick reality check, look away, look back, and confirm if I'm dreaming or not.
That's really cool. So I'd love to hear about a dream that you or one of your clients has had that's got to do with sports and how it actually helped them or helped you with your performance.
So maybe we could talk about there's generally like 3 buckets of clients that I work with. It's not exclusively lucid dreaming clients, because the common thread among these 3 buckets of athletes is that they're aware of how important sleep is, and they've had it drilled into them, in fact. And so the first bucket of people know how important sleep it is, and yet they are like trying too hard to sleep. They are focusing in on their sleep, their external environment, their sleep hygiene. Athletes tend to be like type A personalities, and this sort of personality has a hard time relaxing. And relaxing is not really like a sexy thing. It's not really stressed in the sports world, or really in our culture in general, as something that's important and something that we need to learn and implement into our lifestyles. And so for this bucket of athletes, it's about implementing mindfulness techniques and breathing techniques and things that can shift their body and mind from a state of activation and alertness, their go, go, go all day, into a state of relaxation and rest. Focusing less on like creating a to-do list, you have to do all these things in order to sleep well, and just kind of learning how to relax and let go into sleep. So that's one bucket. And of course, like, I think there's been plenty of athletes that I've worked with that would say that implementing these, simple breathing techniques and simple moments throughout the day where I can incorporate a moment of relaxation and find things that for me kind of relax me and pull me out of my stressful lifestyle has been helpful. Second bucket are athletes who, again, know that sleep is important, but they just don't prioritize it. So it makes sense in our current lifestyle, our current world, where there are just endless numbers of distractions of things that we could be doing instead of sleeping. There's endless content that we could be watching. We have enough shows and streaming programs to last us this lifetime and many other lifetimes, not stopping to take a break to go to the bathroom. And so, for these people, it's like finding a big why. Like, why do you want to sleep better? Why is it important to you? What is it going to do for your game? Is it reaction times? Is it sprint times? Is it not getting injured? All of these things. There's a whole host of things that are important or key, critical to athletic performance that are impacted by sleep. Figuring out what's important to them, and then coming up with a plan. What are the things that I'm distracted by? Is it video games? Is it chatting with my friends all night long? And everybody's going to be individual. Sleep is such an individual thing. And so I have tools and resources that I provide for them where they can kind of craft their own plan on how to minimize these distractions and focus in on what's important to them, because ultimately things are going to be difficult. There's going to be hard times. And so having that plan in place can be helpful for them. And then the third bucket are athletes who, like I said before, they've got their sleep down. They're sleeping pretty well, but they're not aware of this whole experience that exists, and that there's benefit that can come from paying attention to our dreams and bringing that insight, the creativity and problem solving and support for mental health. And there's also practices that we can implement to actually influence the content of our dreams, because that's important too. What we're dreaming about is ultimately going to, especially if it's dreaming about things that we care about, it's going to have a stronger impact, and we're going to get greater benefits from our dreams. So, what I work with the athlete depends on where they're at, what their focus is, and hopefully one day everybody will be in bucket 3 and we can move on to focusing on the dream state. But it's like I said, when I was in university, like nobody was even talking about sleep. So it's like a slow process to get to the point even where like mindfulness is an important tool for folks today.
So your title is that you're a coach of mindfulness of sleep and dreaming. So I guess you would have people coming to you that just can't even get to sleep. And so you're using mindfulness as a way to help promote that. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So mindfulness is a valuable tool that can be applied to many different areas of life. The way that I would define it, there's a couple definitions that I like. One is non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, or the art of being present. Or it could also be paying attention to what's happening while it's happening without judgment or preference. And so in the sports world, mindfulness allows us to be more present. It allows us to use 100% of our mental capacity on the task at hand. So in mindfulness, we're building this muscle to be able to notice when we're distracted, when we're lost in thought, and come back to the present moment over and over and over and over. And you notice that it happens a lot when we start out, and that's a reason why a lot of people get discouraged from it, because we realize how busy our minds are and how tall a task it is to stay present, to become present and stay present. And so in the athletics world, like if I, in a competition that is going to come down to a split second, hundredth of a second, if I have even a small part of my mental resources worried about what the outcome is going to be, or beating myself up over something that happened earlier, that's a part of my mind that can't be used on what I can actually do in the here and now. So the more that we can notice when our mind is strayed into the present or the future or whatever it is, the better off that we're going to be. The more present we're going to be, the more able we'll be able to tap into flow states and perform at our best.
Wow. That just like a light bulb went off for me when you were explaining that, because I thought of, yeah, like lucid dreaming for sports, I get it. And like sleep for sports, I get it. Mindfulness, I thought it was like, oh yeah, like calm them down or whatever. But the way you're saying it, it's like it makes so much sense. If someone was, say, in the middle of a football game and they see their wife in the crowd, or they're, oh, I stumbled back then, and they're beating themselves up, they're not mindful of what's going on. And like you're saying, like they could miss the ball. If you can constantly be in a mindful state and fully aware while you're playing a sport, then you're going to be the best. Like, I don't see how, besides like your physical holding you back, mentally, you'd be the fastest person there. You'd be noticing things that other people are missing. And I can definitely see how that would put you up, like above the rest of the team in your abilities, like how agile you are, how quick you are to respond to things. Mindfulness is definitely something that I can see really helping an athlete. It's a difficult task. Like, it sounds so easy when you talk about it, like just pay attention to what you're doing right
Right.
now. It sounds so simple that it's almost boring to be like, oh, I'm just practicing my mindfulness. But even just to stop and for like 1 minute, just keep your awareness in this exact moment without drifting off to a memory or thinking about what's coming up for lunch or something like that. It is a muscle, right, that we have to train as well. And so I suppose you're helping athletes to be aware that it's not just your biceps and your quads that are going to help you get through the game, but training your brain as a muscle to have like strength when it comes to its awareness. That's really potent. That could be extremely powerful. I can definitely see why you're doing this as a profession. It's crazy. It's a cheat
It's super
code,
helpful.
right?
Yeah, it's another cheat
Yeah.
code, right? Yeah, and then the cool thing is too, it works in other parts of your life. You could be in maybe like a little bit of a disagreement with a friend or with a partner, and your mind starts to wander about something else, and you can bring yourself back to the present moment. And it works for sleep, because we've all been in this situation where we're in bed and we want to be sleeping, we should be sleeping, and yet our mind is thinking about something related to work or a difficult relationship or a competition the next day, whatever it is, whatever the
Mm,
flavor of stress of the day is for you. And what mindfulness does is makes your mind less sticky. And so you can train yourself and you learn to see these thoughts come, notice them, and then let them go. That's a huge, huge benefit of this mindfulness practice, is the ability to let go. And so, you're eventually able to let these things come and go like waves on the beach.
mm,
It's not always going to be like that. It is difficult and it requires practice and it requires diligence, but it's possible. And then, you mentioned relaxation as well. And, this practice isn't necessarily going to relax you. It's going to help you work with your thoughts, and especially the intrusive thoughts that come up when you're trying to
mm.
fall asleep. But you can layer other things on top of this mindfulness practice. So I'm laying in bed and I notice that I'm just like, my mind is running about whatever it is. I bring myself back to the present moment, and then I feel in my body, I feel tense. I feel my breathing really shallow. I feel my heart beating fast. I can then use a breathing practice that I know that is going to use the body to shift my autonomic nervous system from like an alert, activated state into more of like a rest and digest state of relaxation. That's also going to help me fall asleep. And so it's not, we're working with the thoughts and then doing something about it that we can also do, that can be super helpful for sleep as well.
Definitely. That's really great advice. I know, yeah, I used to lay there and be thinking about being on stage and how's it going to look and what am I going to do? And like, you just trying to prepare, but it's not really very helpful. And then I would just end up being nervous, and I'm like laying there nervous, like, what am I going to do? So I start thinking, oh, like, how could I, make this better? And I'll be going, oh, maybe I should get more sparkles on my bikini. Maybe I should dye my hair blonder. And I just go in this spiral, and it's not helpful in getting deep sleep. So for your mindfulness practices, there's breath work, and then the thing of returning your thoughts back to the present moment. Could you give us an example of what's a breath work practice that someone could do if they found themselves in this state?
Yeah, there's really two breath practices that I find to be pretty useful. One is, and they're both very simple to implement into your sleep routine, or when you need it in the middle of the day. One is a coherent breathing practice, and basically, the idea with these breathing practices is that we are in our current Western lifestyle, where we have, especially for athletes who have really busy schedules and really competitive, experiences that they're dealing with, we are in like an hyper stimulated, hyperactivated sense state in our autonomic nervous system. So we're in this like fight or flight mode more than our body is built to be. And so these practices shift us from the activated fight or flight into something that's more of a rest and digest. So the coherent breathing is more of like kind of like centering practice, let's say, that's going to bring you a sense of like autonomic balance, not too tight, not too loose. And so it's basically like breathing in for 6 seconds in and breathing out for 6 seconds. It's a longer inhale than most people typically take, and a longer exhale than most people typically take. We all generally tend to breathe more shallow than that rhythm, and so that's helpful. That can bring you into a ideal state of focus and like physical readiness and mental readiness, but not like too tight.
Yeah.
And then the other one, which is probably better for sleep, is like a 4-7-8 breath, which is just going to shift you even further into that relaxation side of the spectrum. And so you breathe in a shorter 4 seconds, you hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then you exhale out for 8 seconds. And you just repeat this. Start out small, I would say, and there are some indications if you're pregnant and if you have like respiratory problems, then you would want to avoid the breath hold. And I think if you have any questions about your health, check with your doctor before you do anything crazy. But they're pretty simple practices that you can work with and implement.
So I've tried breathwork before and a few mindfulness practices, and I've also heard about dream yoga and how that differs from other forms of meditation and mindfulness practices. Could you share about this?
Sure. So dream yoga, in my probably simplistic and unsophisticated explanation, is basically using the dream state to practice spirituality and explore the nature of reality. And it's a set of practices that come from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, but you don't need to be a Buddhist to practice this. Basically, what we're doing is we're learning to recognize the dream, to become lucid. And then instead of using the lucid dream for the endless number of possibilities that we could be doing, flying, sex, practicing sport, or anything, like indulging our egoic desires, it's about using this platform to understand and relate with and experience like the innermost aspect of our being. So it's really profound and really powerful and kind of hard to put into words, but that's hopefully gives you some idea.
What have you done in dream yoga personally before?
Yeah, so I like to use it as a support for my meditation practice and meditate within the dream, which can be a challenge because the dream is such a unstable environment.
Yeah.
And there are things that maybe you would do in a meditation practice during the day that you can't really do in a dream. If I close my dream eyes, I'll wake up. So I can't meditate with my eyes open. Also, if I keep my eyes still in a dream, I'll wake up because I'm in REM sleep and my eyes are darting back and forth. And if I still my eyes, I'm likely to be propelled out of the dream. So it's finding a way to meditate without sitting still or keeping my eyes still or closing my eyes. And so it winds up being a little bit of like walking meditation, a little bit of contemplative meditation and things like that. So I do that and then kind of explore emptiness, formless spaces. There's one practice from one of my favorite books about dream yoga by Andrew Holacek. That's like you dive, like you like plug your dream nose and dive headfirst into the ground and visualize yourself diving into like your heart center. And it's pretty interesting. I definitely can't justify the experience with words, but it's um, I wake
That's
up
so
and I
cool.
feel pretty good about it.
Diving into the ground is on my list of things to do inside of a lucid dream that I want to try. I just imagine like the grass and then like getting down into like the earth center and
Yeah.
not
At
being
first,
scared to face plant the grass.
right? No, exactly that, and that might happen. That might happen
Yeah,
a time or two for sure.
that's so cool.
And you mentioned mindfulness too. I think
Mhm.
mindfulness is an important, like a foundational practice to be able to practice dream yoga. It's been
Mm.
scientifically proven that people who meditate, people who practice mindfulness have more lucid dreams.
Definitely.
And in this book, Dream Yoga, Andrew Holacek has a really great way of kind of making this connection between lucidity and mindfulness. And he says that lucidity, the word we use for lucid dream, is synonym or is like a code word for awareness and all of its synonyms. And so, like a lucid dream could be called an aware dream or a mindful dream. So you're like aware of the fact that you're dreaming. While you're dreaming, you're mindful and present in the dream state. And so there's also the antonyms of this. So you have like a non-lucid dream is an unaware dream. It's a mindless dream. It's a
Mm.
distracted dream. And so this kind of gives you a sense of how developing a mindfulness practice during the day can help you bring this mindfulness practice into the nighttime.
I totally agree. When I was doing like meditations and mindfulness every day, I was becoming lucid in my dreams so much more. And even just the level of awareness would change. Like sometimes without doing the practices, I could get lucid in a dream, but only be able to hold that lucidity for a very short period of time. Like I'd be like, whoa, I'm in a dream, like touch something, look at something, like realize, and then I'd slip back into the unaware dream. Whereas when I was practicing holding my meditations for longer and being more mindful, and then carrying that through into the dream. Like say I would get lucid in a dream and go, I'm in a dream. And then I'd be like, quick, like stay aware, like be mindful of what's going on, like only focus on this very moment now. And sort of, I suppose it was doing like a walking meditation or mindfulness practice where I was sort of trying to really be aware of what was going on where I was, like touching things, smelling things. And I found that was really grounding the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to be aware in the dream for, say, 10 or 15 minutes rather than like 10 seconds. And definitely the mindfulness and the meditation is what I can tell was the contributing factor to the length that I was able to stay in the dream for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes perfect sense. Because there's a lot of things once you become lucid that can pull you out of lucidity. There's a lot of distractions,
Yeah.
and that's what mindfulness is
Even my
working with
dream
distraction.
characters.
Yeah,
Like dream
exactly. Yeah,
characters come over to me and they'll be like, hey, come and look at this. And they're trying to get my attention
yeah,
to get pulled away. And I'm like, no, I'm focused, stay away.
yeah. They can be tricky.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? So you're a new parent, and I know that when I had my daughters, dreaming life and sleep life was like interrupted, changed, flipped on its head. It's different for everyone. I'm wondering, how has the newborn influenced your own dreaming patterns or practices?
Yeah. So when I first had my wife had the baby, when we
Mm.
had our son, I had the most, the biggest burst of lucid dreams that I've had in my lifetime, which was a really interesting surprise. I was not expecting that. And I would probably attribute that to like the frequent wake ups in the middle of the night and sleeping pretty lightly. And, um, I think it was definitely something that I wouldn't recommend having a child in order to have lucid dreams, because I think I already had the background, like dream recall, because you wake up and you're in like, "Oh, what does the baby need? The baby's crying."
Yeah.
The last thing you're thinking about is like, oh, what was I just dreaming? So I was good that I already had kind of the built-in dream recall where I could attend to the baby and then also kind of backtrack and still remember some of my dreams. So that was interesting. And then the dreams that I've been having recently have been like the baby's 4.5 months. Still walking is still a ways away, and I have some dreams sometimes that he just like pops up and starts walking, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. I didn't really realize it worked like that, but that's cool. Good job. uh, so that's always
That's so
interesting to wake
cute.
up to.
I had the same dream when I had my baby around the same age. I dreamt that she skipped crawling and that she was just like a baby, and then she just like pulled herself up on the couch and started walking. And I was like, whoa, wonder why that's common.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me. I was like, oh, am I putting unrealistic expectations on projecting my.
Could even, I think for me, what I thought that it was about cherishing this moment that she can't walk. Like I was sort of like, oh, this means she's going to like walk ahead and be really advanced. And then I'm like, wait, no. Like, and then she'll be running everywhere. So it just reminded me that like she's still a baby now, and just to cherish that and hold on to it, because like we will blink, it'll feel like a blink, and then they'll be walking. So yeah.
Yeah, that is a nice reminder. I like that.
What are some common challenges that people face when they're trying to achieve lucid dreams, and how can they overcome them?
Frustration, I think, could be a big challenge, especially for athletes and competitive people who expect a lot out of themselves. So things like persistence and resilience and having a plan that really inspires you and motivates you can keep you motivated, not just to become lucid in the short term, but to kind of maintain a long-term practice. Because some people might listen to this tonight and have a lucid dream, and some people might not have a lucid dream for some time, and there will be dry periods, there will be ups and downs in your own personal practice. And so looking at the big picture and having like a strong motivation and understanding that it's success is not going to be linear, that there's going to be some peaks and valleys. Like, sorry to do another American sports reference here, but it's like baseball. You're not going to hit a home run every time you go up to the plate. A good batting average in baseball is like a third, 33% or something like that. And so it's probably even lower than that in lucid dreaming. But there'll be a lot of times when you wake up and you're like, how did I not know that I was dreaming? The craziest thing that happened. And I couldn't even tell her that was a dream. So that happened. Just take one moment, just the snap of a finger and one recognition, and you're in. So hang in there.
Definitely. I can see how frustration would come through. And I like that you're referencing it like that. I try to tell people, like, it's like going to the gym. Like the first time that you go to the gym, you're not going to check and have a six pack, right? It takes practice, and it takes consistency of doing it every day before, it could take 3 months, it could take 6 months. Like you said, everyone's individual. So you never know. Then there's just those people that are like genetically gifted that go once and have a six pack. And they're the ones that go, but it's like that with lucid dreaming. Some, like you said, they might listen to this and then have a lucid dream tonight. And I hope you do if you're listening, because it's so cool. So cool. But yeah, I love that frustration. I would get that sometimes too, or be in a good streak of it and get lucid a few times and then just expect that it will happen. And my mindfulness practices will get lazy because I'm like, oh, I've done it now. I've got lucid now. I know how to do it. And then I just expect it to happen. But it's like the consistency with the mindfulness and the meditation and the constant awareness and the checks throughout the day and things like that, that it all marries up to get success. And it's like that with sport too, right? It's like you need the diet and the training and the sleep and the stretching and the massage and whatever else you need, all of the components to then have the success. I feel like it's the same with dreaming.
Yeah, and there's part of us that wants to achieve this, wants to become lucid, wants to incorporate this into our lifestyle. And there's part of us that's probably like a little bit afraid of it or doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to do the work. And it's manifesting in like these dream characters who are trying to pull you out of lucidity probably. And so, appreciating that there's, we're complex people, and there's a lot of competing factors at work, and just having a little bit of grace and patience with yourself.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you. So, where do you see the future of sleep and dream coaching going, especially with the advancements in sleep science and technology?
This is really interesting, and I'm not really close to any of the work that's being done with these advancements, but I see it and I kind of hear about it, and like my understanding is that we're not far off from maybe a device that could induce lucidity on command. And so like this has a lot of pros and it has a lot of cons. It makes me a little bit uneasy because I think there's like a lot of value in the struggle and in the practice that could be missed out on. But also one of the greatest challenges in harnessing lucid dreams is inducing them and doing it reliably and consistently. And so it's interesting to think about what things would look like if that problem was solved in a reliable and responsible way. I kind of think of it like similar to psychedelics in our current moment. So like plant medicine, when used with a qualified guide, can transform people's lives for the better, and can give people insights that could take years or decades or longer to receive via meditation or via like a slower approach. And so this is hugely valuable and worth exploring and providing to people. And it's also, good to support that with like contemplative inner work. So not just a one and done shot. And so I think these substances can be like, they can be abused also in a way that doesn't help or doesn't honor the tradition of their healing potential. But they can also be used to great benefit. So I think the same thing, something similar with lucid dreaming. Like I hope that a device would be able to jumpstart a practice, but I also think that it could present challenges for people like with escapist tendencies or people who just want like a hedonic playground, or think it's all about dream control as opposed to this like co-creative dance with our dreaming mind.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I know what you mean. It could be scary depending on what people want. It's not like we can like put laws inside the dream world. We talk about it. There's karma and things like that, I suppose. Or I just wonder what the repercussions would be mentally on someone if they were doing like horrible things inside the dream world.
My hope is that their dreaming mind would teach them a lesson.
Yeah,
like they'd
probably.
be in for like their ego would be in for a rude awakening at some point. And I hope that these tools have like support systems and somebody that can that can help walk you through what might be happening if something like that is going on.
Can you tell us about some of the workshops and events that you host, like the book study on transforming stress and trauma into peaceful sleep?
Yeah, so I do some regular events at a yoga studio here where I'm at in Brooklyn. Those are typically on-site and hybrid. And I'm also doing some virtual events with a few different communities, some lacrosse goalies, because that's what I was. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. And working with specific teams over the later summer and the fall, presenting workshops, sleep holistically. So like I talked about with the 3 different buckets of athletes, addressing each, kind of each athlete's potential needs based on what bucket they fall into. And I also have a free 28-day audio program that covers this range of mindfulness of sleep and dreaming topics. So from the relaxation and mindfulness techniques that we talked about to sleep hygiene, to awareness of the various stages of sleep, and then into dreaming practices. So you can sign up for that via my website or my Instagram link.
Definitely. I'll put
They're only 5-minute audios too. Sorry.
I'll put the links in the show notes below. They are really good. I signed up for that and got an email every day, and they're incredible. It kept me on track for sure, because like our little minds wander off and then bing, there's my email reminding me to be mindful. So that's really helpful. That's
Yeah, I
great.
try to make it bite-sized too. They're just 5-minute audios, so they should be digestible and not be too big of a lift. Because I know we all have really long content queues that we're working on, podcasts and books and whatnot.
Yeah, 5 minutes is doable for anybody. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Dream Hub podcast. I hope that you enjoyed our deep dive into the fascinating world of dreams and found some valuable insights to carry with you. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback helps to bring more content that you enjoy and find helpful. Don't forget to connect on social media. I've put Eric's links down below in the show notes so that you can check out his mindfulness practices, his workshops, and these emails that he's sending out. They are so valuable in helping you to get the most out of your sleep. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and remember, every dream is a journey worth taking. Sweet dreams. Thanks for coming on today, Eric. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. This was great.